He doesn't sleep. Another flash of lightning before the accompanying rumble of thunder sounds as evening in Jorvik settles in. Rain, ever present as it has been for the past few days, collecting into large ponds decorating the streets as the drainage struggles with the upkeep. A few blocks from the rubble of the Ascidian Gate, smoke and dust still rising within the Colosseum district. Someone paces across the floors of a large and elegant white stone townhouse which overlooks a small park. A large, ivy-covered wall encircles the home with small statues stationed at each entryway, standing guard, separating it from the main thoroughfare of the town, allowing for some privacy, a moment to perhaps breathe. He doesn't sleep. The wincing and slowly moving Tyneal is pacing in his study, careful to not wake the exhausted and injured occupants currently sleeping in the various rooms of his home, which he, without question, opened the doors to, offering aid and support to any that may need it. He pauses, staring at the flames in the fireplace, before muttering to himself and approaching a large oak desk stacked high with files, papers, small paintings of individuals, friends, and family. Grunting slightly as he sits his old and weathered body within the confines of a grayed and fraying armchair. Before him on the desk itself are correspondence to and from Allegris, Illipin, as far north as Fillion's Harbor and as far south as Illitoth, all in the same line and carrying the same melody of a song he knows by heart. Help. He stares at the list of names, lives, all snuffed out in mere moments, all on his watch, of course. Sands of time that he was unable to capture and rebottle, a small stack of gold for each to help ease the pain of a life now lost, and more troubling news from Deodora and her friends, captured forever. There's a small knock at the door before it opens, revealing Hyacinth, carrying a single lit candle, hair tied in a loose braid to the side, a shawl over a long white nightgown. Her tired eyes looking a mixture of amused, not surprised, and a warning on her lips. You must have a death wish for me if you're still up at this hour. She told me to make sure you get to sleep, and you aren't any use to her or the city if you're dead on your feet. Tyneal grunts after a moment, taking a long sip from his wine goblet before wincing once again, bones creaking from strain earlier today. He coughs. You locked up those cubes, right? Never did I dream anyone would try and eat one of them, and now that's all I can see. Truly, it's a wonder how she and her group are still alive with that mindset. To his right, a stack of newspaper parchment already delivered before dawn, and the town criers all getting ready to share this information as well. He doesn't need to look to know what those tidbits will say. He does not sleep. In his dreams, the faces of those he's he's failed haunt him with each step, each breath he breathes, a spike being driven into his heart over and over, so much so that he shudders slightly, remembering the lies he told himself in Hyacinth not even a few days prior. The sign of a spiritual door in his office bringing forth the grave of one who never leaves. A memoir of a life that ended abruptly as it so often does. And hating. Whose legacy is alive and thriving for the most part in Illipin by all reports. The lie, a bitter taste of vinegar on his tongue as he asked Hyacinth for the removal of the rug from his office where the door once stood, advising it could be cut up to be used for blankets in the upcoming cold. No lines or marks present, but that ghostly presence still haunting him. A face burning in shock as words of hatred hang in the air from a distant memory as the corpse lay within his office. A blood trail. A drag path. He does not sleep. Hyacinth humps from the door before shutting it behind her and taking up residence on a small couch near the fireplace. notes in a book appearing from her shawl as she turns to recline, facing Tyneal with a look of, "Don't you fucking argue." Everyone's being questioned. All reports are in from the Crown's Guard. I've begun looking in. Don't even speak it. Tyneal cuts in, his eyes looking around the room wearily for a moment as Hyacinth waits before sighing. The thing they feared, and is so obvious, there's a crack within the mantle. Not of the fireplace of this room that we find ourselves in, but in the very Crown's Guard itself. The question being, how large does this go? Is it one individual or many? All locked and sealed items accounted for. All prisoners remaining within their cells. He does not sleep. How can he, knowing that someone attempted to steal into the vaults within the Ascidian Gate during this entire distraction? A similar report from an attempt made on 2 temples within the district around the same time. He picks up his quill. While outwardly these events have no connection whatsoever, he'd be a fool to think it wasn't. As he jots down notes before wincing as pain slices through his nose and finger for a moment, dropping the quill as fresh paper cut slowly oozes blood. Meanwhile, a drop of red from his nose onto the parchment below. As Hyacinth, ever watching, eyes the commander for a moment before he quickly hides the injuries in handkerchiefs and coughs, sighing as he puts his head in his hands, allowing himself to finally rest his eyes. He sleeps as her watch begins. Across town, in a small room nestled within an inn, at the same moment that a finger is sliced, a parchment stained red as another bolt of lightning cuts the sky. Astani, what jolts you from your sleep?
The thought of nothing. The idea that there is something that would empty out and everything at the end of it would be for another cause. Yelling out into this void, and even sound cannot escape into it.
The idea of nothing, which is, I think, a presence you have felt more recently over the last few days compared to the last few weeks. Chasing a ghost who had, for the most part, always been by your side over the past few years. What was the last thing that you said to them that you now regret?
How did you know that the last thing that they said to them was a regret?
It's like I know you.
It was a question of faith, of their faith, pretty much something that is within them as well, that is reflecting back, seeing their friend not only get high enough in rank, in what they're doing, be recognized by the lady, and now is walking away from it, but also being blasphemous. So it was a slight how can I believe? I can't even remember the words. It was something where the lady wanted you, and that was enough. It came out of her lips way too fast.
Those chords, the lady wanted you, echoing like a melody of a song within someone's heart. a connection not breaking but fraying like guitar strings. And a bond that had once been so strong, fracturing, questioning. When you dream, Astani, where do you go?
With what she can remember, she floats between her 3 worlds of life. Her like fishing centered village, town really. It feels like a village because there's house upon house upon house, and you couldn't get away with anything down the street without your mom knowing about it like 30 seconds later. And then the place where she went, remote, high in the mountains, deep creeks and flowing streams, where she was a healer. And finally the temple district, the stairs, the levels. So typically, those 3. When her days are routine and there's nothing new and no surprises, she floats between those 3 worlds.
In that, you get order, you get a schedule of some kind. You know, where you're going to be relatively, especially related to the time, since you are usually the one to welcome in the sunrise ceremonies before the sun shifts into a different house within the temple district, allowing for another temple to step forward into the light, so to speak. You've seen a lot over the last couple of days. And in fact, I think that reminder is there with you, not only with the individuals that are sleeping in or whatever it is that Rory does at this time around the room, but there's another in this room as well that's not warm, that's not sleeping. The body that Theodora and Sparky brought. The supposed blood mage. Which you can see at this moment is, I imagine, kind of propped somewhat out of sight, maybe like in a cabinet, or maybe you all have it out, I'm not sure. But wherever this body resides, it has drawn your attention for some reason or another. That nothingness. A life that was snuffed out. A soul that didn't move to the veil. What do you do, Astani, if you do anything at all?
I think it's a thing of, you know the path you're supposed to walk and you've walked it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of frozen in place of, I wouldn't do this. Who is the Ostani that would do this? And pretending to, I guess, like they actively have to put on this facade to kind of step forward and be curious. So that is what Asani is doing, just very cautious. No, my path is always going to be here. I chose this. Fate didn't. Nothing came to me. I said I wanted to do this. So what happened before that made me choose different?
Sure. You take those steps forward. A ripple in the water that has been the river of your life so far, a ripple. You move forward until you find yourself in front of this body, which, as serenely as possible for this specific body, you've seen many like this before as you've helped others move along into the lady's embrace, into whatever journey beyond that they may go to. You take in this individual a bit more now that the heaviness of battle is out of the way and you can get a better look at this individual. They appear to be in their 30s, maybe early 40s. Porcelain skin of blood that you can tell has been completely drained of this individual. And no, not from the whimsical story tales that mothers and fathers tell their children of vampires and other such creatures, but something else, as well as tattoos similar to ones that you saw in Aerie, but differing in coloration, as well as differing in age. Now, whether that's because of the decay of the body itself or otherwise, that's a little bit trickier to kind of tell. You're welcome to do a medicine check if you would like to, or if there's something else that Astani would likely do in this situation.
Sani of this time would possibly do a mix of medicine and religion.
Okay.
Oh, poor baby. It's a 1.
Oh, you do have inspiration.
Well, as a D12?
Yeah. Oh, baby girl, what did you do?
That's 2 1s.
Okay.
Anyway, +8 for medicine. That's the highest stat.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Good to know. It's tricky. Even with a body, normally you can get the dredges of the soul that once resided within. And I think it hits you here that, again, there is nothing. This person was and is a blank canvas. Looking at them, you know they're someone's son. They're an individual that lived within this world, likely had their own hopes and dreams, whether that was aligned with, it's confusing because of the wording that Deodora used when describing the fight itself, almost puppeted. You notice, though, from where the cloth is torn in spots on the body itself, it looks like rudimentary scarring from a battle long ago, perhaps a different life for this person. And I think it takes you a second, this you do pick up. You're familiar, even there, as your magic lay within this body. You've met this person before. They looked very different. It's only been a few years, but it was around... No, it was the day that you met Lysa.
What? They're just confused and kind of blinking their eyes really quick to try to connect everything. Who are you?
The name Tommen slowly forming in your mind as the memory of a red-headed, ambitious, hopeful, and at the moment had been in pain young Crownsguard who had been helping in the farming district after one of the raids. It's been a couple of years, so obviously aging happens, but aging of this accelerated process, Tommen should, by all intents and purposes, probably be 25, maybe 26. Not in his 30s and 40s, and certainly, hopefully, not dead.
Mm-hmm.
There is something strange at work here.
Yeah. It's the hand over the face, kind of almost trying to see through the fingers, like, what caused this? What could have caused this?
You're welcome to, since this is a different check now, if you would like to do an Arcana check, or a history check, or a religion check, either are fine.
I need to get different dice because this one is my special one and needs to get it sit in the chair.
It needs to reset for a little bit.
Oh, that's so much better.
Okay.
What was the options again?
So you could go with Arcana, religion, or you can go with a history check.
I'll go with religion. That's
Okay.
15 plus 7.
What does it look like as you are in this moment? And the room, I think, is fresh with that connection that you had made with Deodora just a short time ago, trying to get signs of what lies ahead potentially, that connects you with the lady. What does it look like as you are reestablishing that connection and using her threads, her hand, to help guide you to your answers?
The lapping of like waves, slowly coming up higher and higher to her, almost as if she could feel the pull of them. The words in her mind saying, we can see the waves, we can see them rise and fall. We know that they're waves, but as soon as they crash, they return to the ocean, and together we are all one with the ocean. That idea of being one with her. And as the water kind of comes up further up, the chill of it and also the warmth and embrace of it kind of overwhelms her, and surrounds her.
All of that surrounds you, the water, and through that, light. And it takes a moment as, for a moment, your vision kind of swims with the scene before you, and light. Sand moving through as particles slowly, as it so often does, in not even a raging sea, but a sea that is constantly moving, alive, welcoming in, taking, absorbing, moving elsewhere to wherever ships may sail beyond the horizons, into pathways and into lands far away. Those particles connecting like constellations within the sky, as so often many ship captains and otherwise use that as guidance to push forward. And you see those threads connecting. You feel the lady with you, almost acting as a shadow as your hands move across what is essentially a blank canvas. And I apologize, can you remind me what you rolled on the die?
15 plus 7 for religion.
Gotcha, so 22. There is soul magic at work here, but not only that, some strange arcana as well. And you can sense almost like the lady is kind of gently guiding your hands to where his arms are, where you can see those tattoos with thorns. Not purple like Aries. This is a deep red, almost scorched into skin, likely after death, to where it's reached this point. It's very strange to see a tattoo that would progress like this. Age, wear and tear, even tattoos fading over time. This seemed to have gotten darker the longer it was on this body. And from what you can tell, it doesn't look like it was placed willingly. As you can see, underneath the markings of the tattoo are scratch marks, secrets of ropes and bindings that were potentially used on this individual before the tattoo. This branding had been put onto their skin. For what purpose? You sense too, again, dredges of magic and energy. And the image of Aerie comes into your mind again too. She had been actively fighting against the waves, the energy that had been seemingly been locked within her arms and had been siphoning off her spiritual energy. You and Rory in this instance, as well as Theodora coming in shortly after, have been able to help nudge her ship, so to speak, away from that riptide. This individual didn't have that safeguard, that lifeguard in place. And so was pulled under. But interestingly enough, the connection that had been built, what you've been able to learn from Aries' markings as well, this is a dual magic. A connection being made, forced to be made, that didn't work entirely. The outcome was still the same. Whatever the purpose of this, maybe it was a blessing, maybe it was a curse, snuffed the life out of this individual. So much so that it rewrote the titles, the chapter book that was this person's life within their body, as if it never existed. A husk to be filled, used. And so it was.
I think Asani breaks down in tears of just the loss of it, of how she couldn't remember their name and why she didn't think of them as she thinks of Lysa. The ties that like she holds, the strings that everything is coming towards, it's just overwhelming for her for a moment, but she just lets it come out in her tears as she mourns this. Gosh, I think she would hate the word husk too, just hearing that loss. So it is in this moment of a painful sobbing, almost like like breathing really hard, and finally waiting pretty much because she would be one who, like, she believes the tears will eventually end. She'll literally cry until it stops, and then once it stops, she just regulates her breathing, and with the water around her, like envisioning the lady just, please don't wake me up, don't do this, don't help us, help, and just pleading in a way to prevent this.
For a moment, there's a flash of lightning outside. And it's almost like time stops. From the flash, you see, in this suspended moment, your friend sleeping. Sakali curled up on the bed where you just were a few moments ago. As she steps forward, and you see a woman with midnight hair. Usually seeing her statuesque appearance throughout the temple district, but instead, in this moment, strangely more lifelike, human. Midnight hair, and you can see it looks almost like glitter, and you realize there are constellations, no, souls, markers of that moving through her hair and the threads that she weaves. A long gown of ivory, again more midnight, and the presence of blue you can see almost interwoven around the kind of threads of the dress, the aurora borealis tied together. Expression neutral. Many in other temples that don't quite understand the work that she does always paint her as cold and calculating. You, as you have mentioned, have always seen warmth. She feels pain. She is not the god of death, as many do equate her to. She is that moment between life and death, the intermediary that carries lives to whatever their eventual aftermath is. She relies on not only herself but her followers to look at the cinematic records of one's life and decide where they should go. Are they worthy to go to someplace higher? Or is it the depths below that wait? And you can see as she, like so often does in these situations, typically embraces the newly fallen. And as her hand reaches down, it's just nothing. No wisps of a person's soul. No dust even. She recoils, though, after a moment. Because from that dust for a split second, red, ash. And you can see she visibly recoils back. For a moment, you can see that her fingertips, white as starlight, blackened with a teal-like shine for a moment. The same teal you saw in the temple not even 2 days prior. She does not hiss. She does not speak. But she looks at you with almost the same question, that same pleading that you had just done a few moments before on her face. And after a moment, I need your help.
Ask for it.
Well, I think appearing before you. And you kind of see, like, for a moment, a small grin on her face. And after a moment, what sounds like the meowing of a small cat appearing on her shoulder. Black as the night, meowing as he does. I can't say what's ahead, and I know you contacted the threads of fate. I can only offer so much aid, and she kind of looks over towards, you realize, Theodora's bed. I've guided as I can. I fear if I get more involved, more of me will be lost. And you see, after a moment, she pauses before moving her arm to the side where the dress had been, and you can actually see on her shoulder what looks like scarring, blackened and teal markings starting to take root within her own body. That same teal markings that you've seen now a couple of times over the past couple of days. And where that marking is, it seems to not only harm, but erase. There's a transparency as it's almost fraying away at who she is.
Stay a bit longer.
I'm trying.
What are you afraid of? You said involving yourself.
It's not so much afraid of involving myself, for I fear that I'm in this situation as much as can be.
Where? Where are you now?
I am everywhere, as you so often know. You are quickly becoming aware, apprised of the situation. And she looks over at Theodora's cot. That one is intrinsically aware, for she's seen it herself, the boundaries between my domain and the others. Mine is a pathway to each of the different worlds, the beyonds. This impacts not only me, our temple, but the other temples as well, the other gods as well. They have strength from those that follow. And this is... And she pauses, and an image of an orchard comes to mind. First, plentiful, bottled wine constantly being sold, people, individuals happy. And then the orchard drying up. Sand. It's a cycle, as you know. And that cycle is dying to feed something else. If I draw closer, it put others to harm. And you can see at this moment as the orchard transforms to, instead you find yourself in a sea of stars before you. And off on the horizon, a very similar scorched mark of teal. But not only that, stars, souls slowly being pulled into that rift. And each one, as it's pulled into wherever this feeds into, you can feel that cry of a soul that either once was or was meant to be, the potential lost. I'm doing what I can from my end, but this extends beyond my domain as you are quickly becoming aware.
You... If it is what I am worried about, you promised. You promised that you wouldn't go somewhere that I could not follow.
And I haven't broken that promise.
And why cannot... Alright, why can I not find you here? And why... Give me real ways to save... What about her? You give me actual answers. I am working on such little experience and information that sometimes I feel like I am working doubly enough just to catch up with the both of them.
It is because things move so quickly and change. And unfortunately, most of my energy is spent. And you can see she's, like, as she's talking, she's fading in and out. You can see she's trying to keep the presence here as much as she can. But you can see behind her eyes, a god can be tired. A god has limits too, but we often don't talk about it. It is difficult when the very thing that you are fighting takes all that you are away. But the answers are in front of you. And you do have help. You are not alone. I chose you for this because you are quick of mind, because of your innate connection, not only to the veil, but to the world around you, the people, the places, your new friends. It's confusing, and unfortunately, I can't promise that all will be made clear shortly, as so many gods often promise to their followers. But the answers do lie ahead.
Is this what you chose her too? Did you tell her the same?
And you see her pause for a minute. Which her are we speaking of in this moment?
She tries not to reveal the information.
Mm-hmm.
She's holding on to something, but I think it's don't think about it. And then the images of Kara flashing through her head, and she's like, no, don't reveal it. And then, of course, she
You
thinks
see the
exactly
knowing
about
kind
the
of
very person.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nod. I did, but you can be chosen and chosen for a different purpose. And indeed, I did have a different purpose for Kara. But she can't serve her purpose in this moment. And who better to continue her legacy than with you?
Continue her legacy. Where is she? What do you mean by that?
She just gives you this long look.
No. I haven't even begun my search. I haven't done enough yet. There are corners of this world that I haven't even traveled to. She's
not in my embrace, but I also cannot see her.
She could be alive.
She's not. You can still have a legacy and be alive. It's a very mortal thing to think that you must be dead to leave behind a legacy. You have her journals. You have the plans the two of you made. And you know where to look.
They have more of a solemn face hearing that, just that reassurance, and I think they're like bowing their head in respect. But mentally they're like, where are the journals? Where are the answers? What do I look to first? Wake up. When the moment you wake up, remember. She said the answers are in front of you, and she's willing that thought and that mantra over and over as she's like just letting them finish pretty much. The answers are in front of me. The answers are in front of me.
And you don't have to do this alone, Astani of the Veil.
I am not alone. I don't feel alone, my lady.
Good.
Just a little inexperienced with running after rogues.
As so many of us often are. You can see how she's becoming more transparent as the conversation is going. Her magic, you can still feel it, but it's definitely dwindling. And you realize it's dawn. It's raining outside, it's lightning, it's thundering. But she's using the last little energy of her time. When the rift
return when you can. She just kind of says out.
When the rift is at this moment slowly being not shut, but at least the door partially closed. And she kind of just nods. I have faith in you, before she fades into dust, leaving you back within the confines as, again, even with the rain and lightning and thunder outside, you can almost feel the sun trying to pierce through the clouds. A new day is here.
I think they taking that warmth, but they're going to like follow the sun, like that's kind of coming into the area through the window, and see where it hits, and look to the other like people in the room.
And everyone's slowly starting to
Faith.
stir, I think, at this moment.